have two very important topics today. The first one is Falkland Islands and the second one is Kuril Island. Both are islands and both have been in territorial conflict, the conflict of sovereignty. Okay. So first, Falkland Islands. So there's very interesting history behind this. Falkland Islands को हम लोकेट अगर करें तो दिस इज साउथ अमेरिका, दिस इज अर्जेंटीना, चिली, ठीक है. तो this part, this region is called Falkland Island. It is on the tip of this South American continent. Okay, and this is the zoomed part of this Falkland Islands. But this is not important. It is very important. Strategically, Falkland Islands are very important because it has been used twice as a war base, both in First World War and the World War II by Britain. Okay. Now let's get back to some of its interesting history. What happened was the Prime Minister of Britain, Boris Johnson, was on the visit to India. Okay. After the 2 days of like the end of his visit, the High Commissioner of Argentina started a commission. That commission consists of Meenakshi Lekhi from BJP and Shashi Tharoor from Congress Party, and that person, the High Commissioner himself, ठीक है, and one more person, Tara Singh, I believe. तो ये 4 लोगों का कमीशन इन्होंने बनाया है to rally for, basically to lobby for engaging United Kingdom or Britain in a conversation for the peaceful resolution of the Falkland Islands controversy. ठीक है. Currently status क्या है कि Falkland Islands have been occupied by Britain. ठीक है. मतलब and most of the Falkland Islands, the people who live in Falkland Islands, they are of British descent because they were colonial settlers. अब इसमें इंडिया का क्या स्टैंड है? इंडिया took a very proactive part in decolonization of the Second World War. ठीक है. And it has, in this Falkland Islands controversy, it has demanded that it should be peacefully resolved. ठीक है. Argentina has maintained that Falkland Islands were illegally taken in 1833 and invaded the British colony. Okay, what happened was, prior to 1820, ठीक है, prior to 1820 नहीं 1764. अब ये 1764 और किस लिए इंपॉर्टेंट है? 1764 बैटल ऑफ बक्सर. ठीक है, बैटल ऑफ बक्सर. ओके, बैटल ऑफ बक्सर 1764. ठीक है. 1757 बैटल ऑफ प्लासी. These two battles were very decisive battles which established the British rule in India very firmly. ठीक है. Now after having established themselves in India very firmly and in the way of getting new colonies, new territories, in 1764 itself, in 1764, around this period only, there was a very strong conflict in Europe, basically Spain, France, Britain, Dutch, Netherlands, Belgium. All these countries were in a very strong conflict with each other to gain a like maximum amount of territories in colonial form. ठीक है. तो इंडिया वाज विद ब्रिटेन. फ्रांस में इंडिया फ्रांस का इंडो फ्रेंच वॉर चल ही रहा था. ठीक है. बट इन फ्रांस in 1764, France came and occupied this. Occupied this island, Falkland Islands. ठीक है. In 1765, British claimed this island. And 1765 से ब्रिटिश वहां कुछ साल रहे and they left the island later. Most probably because the island was very remote and it was मतलब it was very remote part of the world. It was not very important. ठीक है. फिर 1811 में all these colonial powers left. मतलब ब्रिटेन फ्रांस सब 1811 के अराउंड सारे जा चुके थे. 1820 में when all these colonial powers left, 1820 में Argentina claimed it for itself. Argentina claimed. ठीक है. 1764 France, 1765 Britain. Although these dates are not important, but a story is very important. ठीक है. 1820 में it was again claimed by Argentina. But in the World War I and World War II, it was used by Britain, ठीक है, as a colonial, as a naval base, ठीक है, it was used by Britain as a naval base. In 19 अब after the First World War, the process of decolonization started, ठीक है, मतलब most of the colonial countries started gaining independence. Okay, in 1965 basically, in 1965, UNGA proposal, United Nations General Assembly, UNGA, United Nations General Assembly adopted a resolution accepting or acknowledging that there is a territorial dispute on Falkland Islands between Britain and Argentina. That means कि दोनों countries की जो sovereignty थी, that was at challenge in Falkland Islands. That was a recognition given by United Nations General Assembly. Okay. उसके बाद negotiation start हो गए for peaceful resolution, but the settlers themselves led to dissent. The people who have settled in Falkland Islands led to a dissent, due to which 1977 तक कोई भी प्रकार का किसी like any kind of resolution was not possible. ठीक है, फिर 1982 में, ठीक है, 1982 में अर्जेंटीना ने इन्वेड कर दिया. Argentina invaded Falkland Islands to occupy it. It was 7,000 miles away from Britain. Britain sent its Royal RMS Sheffield. It was one. It was a Royal Navy ship of Britain. And gradually, after around 70 days of war, Falkland Islands war was captured again by Britain. The cessation of hostilities was signed between Argentina and Britain, but Argentina believes that it is still under the illegal occupation of Britain, and that is why Argentina wants the dialogue to continue for a peaceful resolution of this Falkland Islands. ठीक है, so I hope you understood this interesting and important discussion about Falkland Islands. What is important is to remember okay, what is important that it is to remember that it touches Chile and not Argentina. ठीक है, although Argentina claims it, but it touches Chile and not Argentina. It is the like the tip of whole what मतलब Falkland Islands is basically this point, okay, and this is Argentina. This tip belongs to Argentina. This is Chile, and this is the Falkland Islands. This is all you have to remember. Okay. Now, second very important, Kuril Islands. ठीक है, तो Japan was also a colonial power. Okay, prior to Second World War, Japan was also a colonial power. Why are Kuril Islands in news? Because Japan's diplomatic blue book has recently said that Kuril Islands are under the illegal occupation of what? Russia. ठीक है, तो and Russia is already embroiled in war with Ukraine. So now Japan is hyping. So this map is very important to understand the position of all these countries. ठीक है, so if we have a look, so this is Japan. Okay, this is Japan. ठीक है, this is one island. It is called Sakhalin Islands. ठीक है, these patches of islands are called Kuril Islands. Okay, these patches of islands are called Kuril Islands. This dotted line is international date line. Basically, if you cross this line, you gain a day. If you cross this line in this direction, you lose a day. ठीक है, this is Bering Sea. This is Bering Strait. Okay, now Bering Strait separates USA and Russia. Why? Because this is Alaska, and Alaska belongs to USA. Okay, sorry, USA. This is Canada. ठीक है, but this part belongs to USA. ठीक है. So this is Bering Strait. Bering Strait separates USA and Russia. Okay. Now, ठीक है. So these islands are called Kuril Islands, और सारा dispute in Kuril Islands और इस Sakhalin Islands के बारे में है. ठीक है. This the history is also again very interesting in the sense कि there have been a lot of wars and a lot of treaties. ठीक है. Okay. Sea of Ostok, Sakhalin Island. Sakhalin Island belongs to Russia. ठीक है. This is Kamchatka Peninsula. This is Sea of Ostok. Okay. तो अगर क्वेश्चन आएगा, Sea of Ostok is between enclosed on 3 sides by Russia and 1 side by Kuril Islands. ठीक है. We'll be seeing how it is. तो 1855 में you can see this portion, this color belongs to Japan and this color belongs to Russia. Okay. And these are the Kuril Islands dispute. How? In 1855, the Treaty of Shimoda was signed. 1855, Treaty of Shimoda was signed between Japan and Russia, मतलब USSR that time, Russia. Okay. So where Japan was given Southern Kuril Islands, ठीक है. These Southern Kuril Islands were given to Japan. These are 4 islands. ठीक है. These are 4 islands. फिर 1875 में Treaty of Petersburg was signed. ठीक है. तो Southern Islands, these Southern Islands were given to Japan and Sakhalin was given to Russia. ठीक है. Sakhalin was basically jointly administered. ठीक है. This Sakhalin Island was jointly administered both by Russia and Japan. And these 4 islands were given to Japan. Rest of these islands belong to up to Kamchatka Peninsula, these belong to Russia. फिर 1875 में Treaty of St. Petersburg, whereas this joint administration was not going good, ठीक है. So they decided कि let's separate this thing, and Sakhalin Island was given to Russia in the exchange for Kuril Islands to Japan. Kuril Islands came to Japan, Sakhalin Islands to Russia. ठीक है. ये जॉइंट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन वाला सिस्टम अच्छा नहीं है, समझ में नहीं आ रहा, इसलिए फिर 1905 में रशिया जापान वॉर एंड रशिया वाज डिफीटेड. ठीक है. तो जापान ने क्या किया, half of this Sakhalin Island, basically southern part, and all of the Kuril Island they claimed for themselves 1905 में, because Japan was a huge colonial power. ठीक है. The Battle of Manchuria में they defeated China itself. So Japan was a very huge colonial power and they exerted a lot of influence over the Eastern Asia. ठीक है. तो फिर 1945 में Second World War जब खत्म हो गया, तो USSR came out as very strong. Japan was defeated. In that process, they took the Sakhalin Islands and the Kuril Islands, both. और Japan was a defeated power in the Second World War. तो 1955 में डिप्लोमेटिक रिलेशंस दोबारा एस्टैब्लिश होते हैं जापान और रशिया के बीच में. ठीक है. और उसमें 1955 में 1951 बेसिकली जापान रिनाउंसेस क्लेम. जापान बेसिकली रिनाउंस कर देता अपना क्लेम 1951 में ऑन कुरील आइलैंड्स इन ट्रीटी ऑफ सैन फ्रांसिस्को. ट्रीटी ऑफ, नॉट वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, ट्रीटी ऑफ सैन फ्रांसिस्को. But again, the story is important to understand this geopolitical conflict. ठीक है. 1951 में Japan relinquished its claim over Kuril Islands, okay, in Treaty of San Francisco. But United USSR basically at that point of time, Russia was USSR. It did not sign the treaty. The Treaty of San Francisco was signed between USA and Japan. ठीक है. Where they relinquished their claim over Kuril Island. कुरील आइलैंड. ठीक है. बट जापान ने 1855 की जो ट्रीटी थी, ट्रीटी ऑफ शिमोदा का हवाला देते हुए ये कहा कि हमने कुरील आइलैंड पे अपना क्लेम तो रिलिंक्विश कर दिया है, बट दीज 4 आइलैंड्स, ओके, 1 2 3 4, दीज 4 आइलैंड्स आर नॉट अ पार्ट ऑफ कुरील आइलैंड्स. ठीक है. कुरील आइलैंड चेन का ये पार्ट नहीं है. ठीक है. फिर 1956 में अगेन सोवियत यूनियन एंड जापान के बीच में डिप्लोमेटिक रिलेशन 1956 में स्टैब्लिश होते हैं, ठीक है. एंड सोवियत यूनियन अग्रीज टू सीड आइलैंड्स ऑफ सिखालन एंड नाउ 1956 में if you look back, ठीक है. Now in 1956 what happened was कि शिकोतान एंड हेमोबाई आइलैंड्स को रशिया कहता है कि वी विल गिव बैक इट टू यू इफ रेस्ट ऑफ द आइलैंड्स आर गिवन टू अस अलोंग विद शखातिन, ठीक है. तो बट जापान डज नॉट साइन दिस ट्रीटी एंड व्हाट हैपेंस, जापान दिस वाज द बॉर्डर, ओके, ठीक है. बट जापान सेज कि नहीं, हमें शिकोतान और हेमोबाई आइलैंड्स के अलावा इटुरुप एंड कुनाशिर ये आइलैंड्स भी चाहिए, ये हमारे 4 आइलैंड्स हमेशा से हमारे रहे हैं और ये हम नहीं दे सकते. तो यही कॉन्फ्लिक्ट है. लेकिन रशिया ने ये सारे आइलैंड्स ऑक्यूपाई कर लिए और सखातिन भी ऑक्यूपाई कर लिया. एंड द सिचुएशन इज कि जापान इज नॉट हैविंग एक्सेस टू एनी ऑफ द कुरिल आइलैंड्स, ठीक है. तो इसलिए जापान इज कॉन्स्टेंटली ट्राइंग टू पुश फॉरवर्ड दिस बैटल वेयर इट क्लेम्स द 4 आइलैंड्स कुनाशिर, इटुरुप, शिकोटान एंड हाबोमाई आइलैंड्स फॉर इटसेल्फ. बाकी रेस्ट के आइलैंड्स को वो रशिया को दे चुका है. तो आई होप दिस यू फाउंड दिस इंटरेस्टिंग. मैपिंग प्रैक्टिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, ठीक है. तो आई होप फॉर मैपिंग प्रैक्टिस व्हाट यू कैन डू इज you can relate some stories with those maps, ठीक है. like Bering Strait के साथ क्या स्टोरी है कि Alaska was earlier part of Canada sold Alaska to USA. तो अब Alaska is a part of USA, तो Bering Strait किसको सेपरेट करेगी? although geographically it looks like Alaska वो कैनेडा वाला पार्ट है, but it is not, and that's why Alaska now belongs to USA and the Bering Strait separates US and Russia, okay. So this is how you can simplify things. I hope you understood it all. If you have any doubts, you can put forward them into the comment section. I will be taking them up in the next lecture. Thank you.